So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, hey, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
It's easy feelings long to gain. They get by a minute into force. Oh, I didn't notice the storm getting full. But only when got him back, yes, I got me.
Can we start now? Okay, go. Good morning and welcome to Cannabis and Coffee with me, Tamarijuana. It's a chilly day out in these Kootenays, and again, I'm sitting here with my shatterizer and enjoying some nice local shatter that we've recently been able to get a hold of, as well as, I don't know, there's been some really crappy stuff that's gone on in this last week too. I'd like to shout out to the King family, who, without them, I wouldn't even be partially where I am. Shane and I pretty much got started in this movement at about the same time, and we corresponded quite a bit in the early days of cannabis, when I was with me getting started anyway. I met them in Toronto at a Treating Yourself Expo a few years ago, and all I can say is I'm so sorry to the whole community because we've lost a warrior. And that's all I'm going to say, because if I don't stop now, I'm going to start crying. So this morning, I'd like to welcome my guest, who is Mae Moon. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mum Cup and what we're going to be going on to with 12 High Chicks in the future. So good morning, Mae. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm not quite finished my tea, but my friend Murray here has heated it up, and I am ready to go.
Oh, that's good. I know things... How did the cup end up turning out pretty good after all, a few little hiccups along the way, but it overall was a great success. Want to recap what happened over the weekend?
Sure. So we had quite a few crazy things happen. So it started snowing the weekend of the cup, and then we had to get different shuttles because the ones we originally had booked didn't have snow tires. So that was a great adventure to wake up to. We managed to get everybody in except for a few people. The first night was a little bit quieter because Vancouver's not used to snow. A lot of people were not able to drive in it, which, totally makes sense. Most people out here don't have snow tires, so they just kind of stay indoors. But Saturday night was absolutely pumping. It was totally amazing. We had a whole bunch of guest speakers from around the world. We had Brent Ray Fraser come back. It was pretty awesome. So Friday was our entertainment night, so adult entertainment night. And then Saturday was our panels and comedians night. And then Sunday was our awards, Precious Chong, and our auction, as well as Essie Thomas, which was super awesome.
Yeah, Essie Thomas.
Pretty good cut.
She is amazing, Essie. I don't know why we're missing her in Canada, because really, Australia's lucky to have her, because her voice is totally amazing. I just love Essie. She's totally terrific. And the comedians were good, and Precious Chong, that's an awesome headliner to have right there. Actually, because there was live streaming by a lot of people, a lot of us got to see the event as well. I'm in Cranbrook, and I got to watch a lot of it via, the online streaming, which was terrific. So I got to see the awards and stuff too. And do you want to give a recap of who the winners were? Do you recall them off the top of your head?
I probably should recall them off the top of my head. The one that stood out to me was there was a tie between Lady Green and Turp Fire. And I want to say that was Sativa, but I'm not entirely sure. So we flipped a coin. And that was pretty interesting because, the exact same amount of votes. You can't change that. So that was pretty cool. But you can go to our website, which is 12highchicks.com, and you can find all the winners right there on the site. And all of our first place winners got $1,000 cash for the flowers and the extracts. So there was $4,000 right there, and then $500 cash to our edibles winner. And I remember excellent. I want to say that they were butterfly.
Butterfly. Yep, that's exactly. I remember that one. Butterfly. It was for some chocolate that she had.
Yeah,
or whoever.
Actually, now that I think about it, I really need to send them their cup in the mail. I've been kind of just busy doing all the thank yous and just kind of, recovering. A cup is a lot of work. It's only a couple of days, but it takes almost a whole year to put it together. I
know. I've decided to throw one together in 4 months. We'll see how that goes. But I figured, what the heck? I've been talking about it. And I don't, like I said, you go more, national, where you want, to have the sponsors coming in from all over the place. For what I'm wanting to do, I just want to do small, kind of try and keep it local, try and get some big sponsors, because of course I want you to come out too, right, and have my friends around me. But again, I want to kind of focus on supporting the local area, because we have a lot of growers in these Kootenays and West Kootenays, right? Like especially the Nelson, all up the Kootenay Lake. There are all kinds of growers out there. They might not be on the legal side of things, you know what I'm saying? But that's what the industry in this province has been for forever. And I think these new legislations, even with them rolling out the announcements yesterday, because we'll get to talking about that too, with allowing microcrafting and microprocessing and everything else. But did you see how they made it so it's like in between the blue lines in a hockey? Did you see that at all? So the size of a microcrafting grow can be the size of in between the blue lines in a hockey rink. So it's actually like 2,050 square feet, I think. Comparably to what a licensed production site is like the size of 3 hockey rinks. You know what I mean? So I don't know, and the pricing on that's still going to be outrageously, with security and everything. So what do you think of the way they've rolled that out? Do you have any comments or any thoughts on that?
There's always going to be some sort of problem, right? That's definitely not a big enough space. I don't think it should be equal amount of space for both parties.
Well, I
I'm
agree.
Not in control of that. Yeah. But then can a craft company afford the space of what a licensed producer can? I don't know.
Well, that's, I think, what the main thing is.
Yeah, I used to do this kind of thing a long time ago. I used to run 3 Happy Cats, and there was really no laws. It was pretty much the wild, wild west, and the only thing you could do to kind of protect yourself was get a nonprofit agreement together and actually stick to the idea of, providing a nonprofit service.
Which is tough to do when you're running anything.
These concepts are pretty crazy.
Yeah, and like that's what I mean. Like you're trying to run a non-for-profit. Like even with Canadian Therapeutic, we're an NPO, but we don't make any money. Like we're not. That's not what we're set up to do either. We're set up to help patients get access to doctors, and do some lobbying in the background type of thing. But we're not making money. So I know the patient-to-patient thing too. That's another thing we were discussing the other day is how the Smith ruling kind of made it so that patients can share patient-to-patient. But in the rec market, they're not allowing, I think you'll be able to share within the 30-gram limit. I have to look on that. I'm not sure positively. But I know that the Niagara Cannabis Club is back in court again today for their constitutional challenge out in Ontario because of the fact that they were providing patient-to-patient and were still rated, right? So that's, I think, the difference between the gray, you know what I'm saying? Like, with the dispensaries being able to run, I don't know how this is going to be a mess because the licensed producers are the ones that are pushing the legislation back as it is right now because they need more time because they don't have enough production right now to cover the patients they've got. Of course. There's 97 of them out there and they can't provide enough for what they've got already licensed and registered. So I don't know how this is going to fly.
Well, we're just going to have to sit back and watch, really. And the only thing we can really do is get together and, change the laws and tweak them as they come out to suit the people of Canada.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this isn't a perfect setup by any stretch, but at least, like I said, I know a lot of people that are not happy about the legislations. I just keep thinking back to when we got started in this. And we had Stephen Harper sitting there going, I'm never going to legalize marijuana, right? And we were like banging our heads off desks thinking that we wouldn't ever get to this point where they were talking about legislation at all. Like I said, it's not an ideal legislation, but it's a far step closer to anything that we've ever had, which I don't know if it's great, but it's still better than what we had 10 years ago, is the way I'm kind of looking at it. But the laws, like, it's still not ideal because they're still criminal. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we talk about this all the time, about how, you know, there should be no crime left in cannabis, but they're still allowing this, you know, to have that criminal attachment to it when I don't feel that there should be. But in reality, there's still criminal attachment to alcohol too, because if you're caught with illicit booze like moonshine, you're charged and fined. If you're caught in public with alcohol, you're charged and fined. If you're caught driving with alcohol, you're charged and fined. So there's still criminality to alcohol too, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that,
yeah.
you know.
And it's hard because a lot of the old ways have been up to the discretion of the officer or the city.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, that's like Cranbrook here, okay, for example, they're letting Dykar come in, which is a licensed producer. But for so long, they've been like adamantly waiting for the provinces to make out, you know, what they're going to do for private, you know, dispensaries and that kind of thing. And it's frustrating because now I haven't really heard what BC's actually, I think from what I'm hearing, they're going to go with a liquor control board more than anything. Like, they'll allow some private stores, but I'm not seeing exactly how they plan on rolling that out either. Have you seen anything?
Well, I know some people are talking about challenging these laws, but it's a lot of money. And I haven't seen very much of anything beyond a few things going on, but I don't know. I think it's too soon to really start speculating where this is going to go, if that makes any sense. I feel like there's going to be a lot more arrests, there's going to be a lot more problems before we see any of this kind of go in a positive way, especially in Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario is a real, like, that's really, I don't even know what to say, a fuck around. You know what I mean? Like, you've got how many stores running just in Toronto alone, even Hamilton, you know, and around the surrounding area. They've got small businesses running within the gray or whatever, but they're following regulation that there's, you know, 19 and over. They're not selling to kids. They're either doing medical, which is patient to patient, which again is not kids. I mean, they're not, the Canadian government aren't giving us any credit for being responsible. I think that's what ticks me off the most, is that what do they think? Dispensary owners are just going to open their doors to every 14-year-old kid that wants to come in and buy a lollipop with cannabis in it. You know what I mean? Like, even with the edibles, like, do they think that I mean, of course, there's probably going to be somebody out there that would be the bad apple in this, unfortunately. But they're not giving Canadians credit for being responsible adults. They're treating us like we're little fucking kids as far as I'm concerned. You can only smoke 30 grams. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. That's how I feel. I just feel like they don't give us enough credit for being responsible. And I guess there's just too many of us out there that don't, you know, common sense isn't common anymore. So they have to put big, huge rules into everything that we do. And I just think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. The stuff I've been really noticing is the unjust rules. The fact that it's like 14 years imprisonment if a minor somehow gets in possession of marijuana, and it could be from a different minor too. They haven't really
absolutely
defined how that rule works, which is kind of terrifying because I have kids that are young that may choose to experiment behind my back instead of talking to me. And what if they're caught in that situation where they're a minor giving it to another minor? That's just absolutely nuts.
Well, exactly. And they're saying they're protecting the children. That's not protecting children. That's throwing children into a rat cage with a bunch of, you know, because let's face it, most people that even, you know, consume cannabis or even sell cannabis aren't hardened criminals that, you know, need to be thrown in jail with a bunch of murderers and rapists and people that are actually criminals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing I've been noticing is, I think it was either yesterday or this morning that Manitoba has announced that there'll be no smoking of cannabis anywhere in a public format. Like,
oh, that's Quebec. That's in Quebec too.
In Manitoba as well.
Oh, really? Because I know I was watching something this morning too about. It's a community that's like basically inside Montreal. I can't remember the name of it, Hans or Harns or something like that. And the mayor was on there saying, They can't smoke cigarettes in some of their condos and stuff as it is either. So you can smoke in your backyard or you can smoke, in your front yard, but not in public. But if you live in the condos, apparently, or apartments that you can't smoke in, all they have to do is walk across the street because they're in Montreal, he says. And I'm thinking, how is that? You're just passing the buck off onto, because they can smoke in public in Montreal when it's across the street because that's how close the border is. So if they can't smoke in their apartment that they pay rent for, oh, well, that's okay. They can just walk across the street and stand on the street across from their apartment when it's minus 40. I'm sure it just seems like they're not even allowing us to do what we want in our own homes anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and just to confirm, CBC Canada, CTV News, Global News are all confirming 19 to 22 hours ago that Manitoba is moving forward with a banning marijuana use in all public places.
Yeah.
So you'll basically have to go to your house. And if you have kids, you can't smoke outside, of course, right?
No, so then you're going to be stuck with...
That's why I have this man cave. That's why I have this one little spot that's completely enclosed, that the kids can't get into, that all of the stuff is locked behind this huge cabinet, which the room also locks off as well, so that it's just crazy that I have to hide in this tiny room, that I've become an adult, and I have to hide.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
You can have beer in your fridge, but you can have beer in your fridge, right? Like in your kitchen, without any problematic, you can have beer sitting in your fridge right next to your Kool-Aid jammers. You know what I mean?
Believe it or not, the answer is actually no to that. And this is what I was saying before, where it depends on the officer when it comes to like the laws with the dispensaries, or at least it has been up until recently. And it also depends on the social worker and the situation. In all reality, your children shouldn't be able to touch, reach, or be able to see things that can intoxicate them or that are medicine that contain things like opioids and other, fun painkillers. And I mean, it's just weird that most social workers will just overlook the alcohol and they'll overlook the Tylenol 3s that are within reach of the kids. But, you have a joint in your ashtray outside and it's the end of the world.
Right. Absolutely. Now they even got it so that Tide Pods have locks on them too, because that's how ridiculous things have gotten. You know what I mean? Like, children are eating Tide Pods. Like, come on. It's just, it seems to be that we're getting more restrictive rather than, I thought when in my 20s that, by the time I'm, getting close to 50, things are going to be so lax. And I think it's gotten worse.
Yeah, but then you have people that royally fuck it up for everyone. So like recently there's a story online, and I realize it's in America, but a family has just endured the loss of their 4-year-old child as a result of neglect because somebody didn't come and check if the alcohol was put away or the Tide Pods were behind a locked cabinet. And that's the reason why things are getting more tough, is because some idiot has made it so that it's really accessible and the child's not, responsible enough to know not to touch it or whatever. So it's your responsibility to make sure they don't get into it. And you'd be surprised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as parents, we have to be.
That. It's been so lax in the past. That's why so many kids have gone missing and died and ate a Tide Pod or whatever the problem may be.
Yeah,
so the Tide Pod situation specifically are like people that know better. It's not like this is a toddler walking into a laundry room and discovering a Tide Pod. These kids are probably getting it off the top shelf, pulling it out of the container and doing their YouTube video and dying while doing it as well, which is really horrible.
Yeah, you have to wonder, maybe it's in the drinking water. Maybe we've, maybe there's so much crap in our drinking water now that people have just lost brain cells. I don't even know what to say, because it is like, I don't know if it's social media or what the heck has done it, but it just seems so many ridiculous things. Or maybe they were still doing it before we just couldn't video it. You know what I mean? And put it on YouTube to see the most ridiculous shit that people do out there, whether it's, putting Tide Pods into a bong rig and smoking it, or, throwing themselves off a cliff in a shopping cart. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to wonder what's wrong with people.
Yeah. for sure. I mean, well, I think that the Tide Pod thing specifically is to try and get likes and fame and get attention, which everybody wants some sort of form of attention and to be liked, and it went horribly wrong. When I was a kid, kids were taking those cloth towels that used to come on the reel that you pulled down to dry your hands, and they were pulling them out and wrapping their necks into it. I'm not even kidding. They caused themselves to pass out. This is a big thing in the 90s. I don't know why it was, but it was. I never did it personally, but a child did die as a result of it. And then all of the cloth reels were removed from the school because they found out the kids were being insane with them. And then in came the dryers.
I remember that, actually. That's crazy, though. I do remember that. Yeah, because there's always takes one stupid child.
Right? And that would be a group of like 10 kids. I mean, and that's now you get 100 kids or 1,000 kids or maybe even 1 million kids watching your video, depending on how cool or stupid your video really is. But, 10 kids in a bathroom all giving you attention. Hey, let's wrap your head in this thing. We're all going to do the same thing and pass out. It sounds like a great time. And that's just like a mob rule thing. I don't know. Kids do stupid shit sometimes. And I'm sad that sometimes they die doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
But
it's unfortunate.
Sometime, I guess.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate they did some of the stupidest shit you hear, and then, it's a tragic matter, but it's not really laughing matter when you think about 10 little kids. Oh my God, but that's exactly what does it. It's ridiculous. And the peer pressure that they go through. I can't I'm glad I'm not a kid anymore.
It's a big thing, yeah. It's a hard world out there, and it doesn't get any easier as life goes on.
No, absolutely not.
In a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally feel you. And I mean, both of us being parents, we find it, having to balance everything that we do on the one side of our lives to kind of keep everything balanced on the other side becomes quite a challenge sometimes too. Like you said, having to lock yourself in a man cave and, keep your pot locked behind a door. Like without kids, we wouldn't have to do that, right?
Yeah, and I've unfortunately, because I've been so public about owning a dispensary in the past, and I can't really discuss too much of this because a lot of it's court ordered not to be disclosed, but some issues with a couple of court cases there came up, and I kind of learned through some very hard channels how you need to protect your kids. And I'm lucky enough to have been able to keep my kids with me throughout all of these crazy situations and manage to protect them and make sure that they were okay. But man, some of the stuff that they expect you to do, which I mean, every parent, and I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, are trying to do the best for their kids and want to do the best for their kids. So just to hear some of these things, it's like, I can't imagine that even being a problem, let alone a problem for the kid. It's wild. But yeah, I've been really engaged with my family more in the last couple of years because of the court cases and just recently being able to get back on social media. So it's kind of wild to see the world after, a 2-year break. It's been a really wild ride for me because, like, when I left, everybody was still in the wild, wild west. We didn't have licensing. I had just failed to obtain a Vancouver license and closed 3 Happy Cats when I had to fall off social media for a while there. And coming back to, like, multiple licensing in multiple cities, and now we're going to legalize across the country. Like, I literally just, like, I don't know how to describe it, but once the social media was gone and I turned off the TV, it was like the world didn't exist anymore. It was really bizarre. And to plug back in was just incredible. There's stuff happening all over the world. I'm watching like Australian companies merge with Canadian companies. They're talking about importing and exporting medicine between countries. It's really exciting. It's also really scary because a lot of people don't know where their jobs are going to be in a year from now or even a couple months from now. Job security is right out the door, and a lot of people have been arrested and charged, which is very expensive. I've done 6 court cases, and I hate to say it, but I'm not the same person after doing 6 court cases back to back like that. 3 of them were like spontaneously at the same time. Like that was just wow. I don't even know how to describe what was going on, but I'm really happy actually that I was disconnected from the internet and the outside world because it was very confusing and very emotional. It brings you to like the brink of your existence and then brings you back. And then it brings you back to somewhere where, I don't know, you're just not the same after it. And I really applaud those that do it and rebuild and do it with a smile on their face. I'm struggling to work with my magazine, but I'm slowly getting my groove back. And on that topic, I'm actually going to Quebec soon, so I can finish off Volume 2, The Dark Side.
Okay, we're going to stop you there. We're going to stop and take a quick
sure.
break, and then we'll come back and talk about Volume 2 of 12 High Chicks Magazine. So I'd like to thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, Haley Rose Foundation, Mom the Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, and we're going to listen to Les Mosquitos Justice. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Cheech.
And this is Chong.
And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
What is it?
Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time.
420 radio?
Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
And the rise above the evil. The poor keep getting stronger, and the rich can't feed their hunger. Now's the time to make a change. No, we can stand for this no longer. 'Cause there ain't no justice for the poor. There ain't no justice. We will settle the score. There ain't no justice in the system. Either you're with us or you're with them, yeah. Tired of being a victim in a corrupted social system, yeah. Living each and every day, thinking up and no won't go away. Well, let's join together and take a stand. The time is now, 'cause there ain't no justice for the poor. There ain't no freedom for the victims of war. There ain't no peace for the wicked, yeah. Only greed and money, they just can't kick it. There ain't no justice, no justice. There ain't no justice, every soul is equal. Overcome the system and rise above the evil. The poor keep getting stronger, and the rich can't feed their hunger. Now's the time to make a change. Now it's time to make a change. 'Cause there ain't no justice for the poor. There ain't no freedom for the victims of war. There ain't no peace for the wicked. Only greed and money, no, they just can't kick it. Still there ain't no justice, no justice. There ain't no justice, no justice.
We have lost the way. This world is room for everyone, and the good earth is rich. Greed has poisoned men's souls. We think too much and feel too little. All will be lost. The kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers. You, the people, have the power to make this life
right, and we are back with Mae Moon, and we were talking a little bit before about Mum Cup and the regulations, and she's heading out to Quebec to work on volume 2 of the magazine. So what do you got planned for volume 2?
Volume 2 is separated into 2 pieces, and I'm going to put out the dark side first. It's basically a reflection of the last 2 years of what I've watched other people go through in the cannabis community, and then we're going to follow up with the dark side, with the light side, so that, you know, it's not all gloom and doom, because we've also watched a lot of beautiful things unravel in the last 2 years as well, which is pretty amazing, because we've got an audience that's Australia, America, and Canada. We're watching a lot of new innovative things with medical marijuana kind of open up in Australia, even though it's just a few people, but that's better than what it was when I first went to Australia, which was 0 people. I managed to see shatter evolve out there and actual oil. When I first got to Oz, there was like bushweed, which was just atrocious. And now they have like outdoor weed, which is still bushweed that actually like smokes and smells really good. And they have really nice hydro, which is, you know, hydroponic weed, or indoor, which is really nice now, where when I first got there, it was just, oh my gosh, Mexico is growing better weed than them. I mean, I've been going there for a long time. So it's been a good decade since, I started going. So yeah, the evolution of marijuana has definitely started out there. And just
progression
what's going on in America has also been really cool. You know, all of a sudden now they have dispensaries and places that grow and sell weed like all over the place. That's amazing. When I first went to America, they were like the anti-drug country of like the world. That's also a very unique and beautiful thing to watch flourish and grow over the last 15 years.
Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
a couple hours from the border. Yeah, so I'm going to put all those beautiful stories that I seem to have liked the best over the last 2 years in the light side, and then I'll sell the 2 as a unit, and they'll be available at my website in the next couple months.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, I can't go down to the States. Like, I haven't been to the States since I was 5, I think. I think the last time I was actually on American soil, and I haven't been able to cross the border since I was 22. So, yeah, I've watched it from vicariously through, the news and through our community and stuff. But the States really has moved forward quite a bit. And I know that even with our legislators, even when I was listening to them talk yesterday a little bit about how they're modeling ours, they've gone to the States and taken a lot of, the initiatives coming out of Denver and bringing it up across our border. I'm not saying that those have all been great initiatives, but some of them are better than, like I said, better than what we had before. So looking to the U.S., seeing that they're progressively, laxing up on a few things, and maybe that's some light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people that I feel are going to be left out of this, this new legislation. A lot of small businesses that are running existively now aren't going to have an opportunity in the legal market. And I think that's what's most disheartening, because I was having a conversation with my MLA, because he's, yay for dye cards, they're coming to town, they're going to bring 200 jobs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking they're going to outsource a bunch of jobs. There's not a lot of people here that can't even, they can't even keep Tim Hortons fully staffed because they don't have reliable people that want to work. I don't know what the cannabis industry is looking for. The College of the Rockies here is now offering a cannabis industry course. It's a 26-week course that's going to help with, I guess, initiatively bringing qualified workers to the licensed producer. But like I was saying to my MLA, do you guys not realize that for the last 30 years, the industry in this province has been running under the wire, and you guys are cutting out all these people? And even microcrafting is coming in, it's still going to be cutting out. Like one community I know, for example, that's all they do there is grow cannabis. They're not legal. None of them. Some of them might have gotten medical licensing in the last, 10 years, but 90% of them aren't legal growers. And they were all excited about this licensed production when they first, realized that they might be able to roll themselves into licensed production, and then saw the cost. And even though they've been growing illegal weed for many, for years and years, it doesn't necessarily mean they're millionaires, right? And I think that, and then the background checks and all this, it's just been, I don't know where they're going. And out here, that's going to hurt a lot of people. And that's, where I really want to get across to our MLAs and MPs in this province specifically, is that there is no other work. Like, they've shut down lumber, fisheries, are lacking. There's, they're blocking the pipeline, which is something that, initiatively would bring jobs but cause harm to our environment. They're wanting to shut down coal. In this area, coal is all we have. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but even the lumber out here isn't, it's moving, but not, there's no jobs. So this is what people have done to maintain putting food on their table and roofs over their heads. You cut that out for them. Where are these people going to get jobs? So I'm not really positively looking at some of this aspect with wanting it to be all ran through the like liquor control boards and LBDs and not being able to go farm to table like they can with a tomato,
Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of negativity in this, but there's also the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. I know that seems really hard for some people to grasp that concept, but you need to kind of not necessarily conform, but you need to try and work with the system and tweak it so that it actually works for the people in that community or, for that province. Most laws don't necessarily work for everyone when they're first passed, and somebody needs to challenge it or, propose changes to it, which can take time, but it's certainly something that can be done and should be done. If we are to just all, I think, completely just say no, we've watched what the government does. If we literally just say no, we're not going to listen to you. They go and arrest 300 people like they did in Ontario. They completely ruin your life. So, I've watched from my own experiences how they can come in and ruin your life or change the course of your life. For instance, I had to hop on a plane without my children and go to a country that I don't speak the language to avoid a certain situation with a court case. It was really wild. And, it was that easy for them to completely change the course of the way of my life was to go within a matter of seconds. Yeah. And I think that people that are in the industry right now have so much knowledge and all of these beautiful things they can give to something that can be harmonious for everyone. I just think that everyone needs to work together to change it by actually implementing policies and adjusting the laws to work with them. And most people, feel like protesting is the way to do that. But normally, like you said, talking to your MLAs, talking to your MPs, actually writing formal letters, joining politics, actually being a part of policy change and writing is the way to make it actually work for everyone. Another good way is if it goes completely out of hand, we can have a referendum. If I'm understanding how a referendum works, especially if it's based on the province, I'm pretty sure you can have your say and change it. At least, do everything in your power to change it.
In BC is one of the provinces you can't have a referendum. You can't have referendums in every province across the country, but you can in British Columbia. And let's look back to 3 years ago. I was just kind of, scrolling back to 3 years ago, we could not have extracts in, for the ACMPR. If it wasn't for the Smith ruling, which was actually 3 years ago, I think today or yesterday.
Somebody who challenged the laws that were put in place was able to change them. But it takes work.
Right, and that went all the way to the Supreme Court, right? They took it to the Supreme Court, which was costly, which was time-consuming. You need a decent lawyer like Kirk Tusaw behind you to get this done. And 3 years ago, we were only allowed to consume cannabis in flower form. We weren't allowed to extract it at all as patients at all. Now we've come that far full circle ahead from 3 years ago to this where we are today because of a court challenge. I know, like I said, there are court challenges. Like I said earlier, Niagara Cannabis Club is doing a constitutional challenge in Ontario, and they are again in court today. So, you know what I mean? There are people out there. I think Jerry Martin is another one. I'm not sure exactly how his is rolling out completely. So, but there's, other people as well that are challenging in the courts that do have stuff waiting in the wings for when this did roll out. I'm not for sure knowing exactly what there was something posted a few days ago that Kirk and Rob Laurie had posted. I can see it, but I can't remember exactly if whereabouts it was, what they were doing with it. But it was something to do with a challenge as well. Maybe you've seen that, Asia. I can't remember exactly what it was. But so there are court challenges being rolled out already. So things are being tweaked. As soon as they were rolled out yesterday, I think there'll be stuff going in court like in the next couple of days, kind of thing. So. There's not it's not all lost. I've got faith in the people that we have that are lobbying behind the scenes. I have faith in my group, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners, because I know how hard Ross has been working behind the scenes to get, things changed and tweaked too. So, we were at the roundtables in December. They were asking for consultation. Most everything that was rolled out yesterday was pretty much what we had seen or heard in December. The only thing is that it was all proposed then, and they didn't have anything for microcrafting, and the microprocessing wasn't there. That was not they weren't even, that wasn't kind of on the table. That's a good thing, because you can actually have
people get involved. They have their word heard. They talk to the right people, and things will get tweaked accordingly.
Right.
Because, like you said before, we didn't even have craft cannabis on the table. Now we do. I mean, the size seems to me, it doesn't seem big enough. But you can tweak that. You can make the size bigger. There's somebody who we can talk to that will make the size bigger.
Well, we've already talked about the fact they're tweaking the security levels, because before the LP had to have a vault, which was huge cost, right, when you're building a facility. Now they've taken that out because after a couple, 3-4 years now that they've had the licensed production going, they've realized that, hey, nobody's breaking down doors and robbing licensed producers, so maybe they don't need this heavy level of security. So they've taken that out, making it a little more attainable even to get closer to a licensed production. You know what I'm saying? Because they've realized that nobody's taking a tank and driving it through the walls of a licensed producer to steal all the weed. You know what I mean? It just seems ridiculous. But that at that point in time, we have to go back to the MMPR when the conservative government started setting up this fucking program. Because that's where we were at. They were taking our licensing away from all the patients. The only way that they could get us all access, as the court order had stated, was to then, of course, get it so we had access. So so this is when the licensed producers started coming in. They had to provide us a supply. So they figured what they started with 5, that didn't cut it. Now they're up to 97. That's still not going to cut it. I think at the end of the day, want to have 400 licensed production sites running across the country, and they're not even at a quarter of that now. But again, I have to ask, where are they going to get the people with the money? Who's got $35 million just laying around to get going? Because that's what Dykar has already got invested right now. That's just what I know from that per se, that one. I've heard other numbers thrown out into the numbers of $70 and $80 million for these facilities. Not kidding you. So who's got that kind of money? And to try and find that kind of investment too, I know I'm not in that anywhere near that realm. So that's totally off the table for me and my family ever. Even microcrafting, the numbers they're throwing out is 1 to 2 million. Well, that again throws me under the bus on that one too. If dispensary licensing,
I don't have that.
I know. Even dispensary licensing, what are they, $30,000 a year in Vancouver?
Yes.
So even that
$5,000 in Victoria and Squamish.
Right. So, but even $5,000, that's attainable, right? But in reality, $30,000 for myself personally is not. So when you think about how the municipalities are going to go start looking at how they're going to regulate dispensaries within municipalities, cash grab come to mind, right? Oh, you want a dispensary here? You're going to be making this much money. That's how I know our council is going to look at it and how they're going to state a business license here. I think for anything else is $100. You know what I mean? I'm not even sure. I think it's $100 for a business license for any other business in Cranbrook. You go looking at the dispensary, I will guarantee they're going to put a huge dollar sign on that just because every other community is, right? So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, any business needs some sort of base to it, but a basic BC license, I believe I paid $75 for it, and that was to get it rushed. So that's a huge difference between that and $5,000 and anything above that.
Absolutely.
And most banks don't want to give small business owners a loan, especially to a cannabis industry that has not been finalized. So they're not going to give you a bank loan to get that, $30,000 or the $1 million you're looking for.
No, absolutely not. There's no way I think you'd probably go into a loan officer, they'd probably look at you with their eyes wide open thinking, boy, you got balls to even be sitting here asking me. You know what I'm saying? You're asking me for money for what? An illegal business? Because really that's what it still is, right? And yeah, I don't know. It seems redundant.
Well, time is going to show us what's going to happen, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to have to go to another quick break here. And we'll be right back after that. Or I guess maybe not. I don't know. I'm getting typed at. Yeah, we'll take a quick break. We'll go to another quick break. We're going to take a break here. So I'd like to thank my sponsors, who are 12 High Chicks Magazine, Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society, MUM, the Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, and the Haley Rose Foundation. We'll be right back again after Les Mosquites Ganja Feet.
Are you looking for cannabis news, education, and people's opinions? Are you looking to learn what Canadian and international cannabis advocates are doing, not only now, but what got them to this point in their lives, and what does the future hold for them? Do you want to learn how patients are using cannabis as their daily medication, or learn how their cannabis use helps them with their medical condition? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I'm going to suggest to you to tune in to Lifestyle Radio. Catch their live weekly shows and have your questions and concerns answered and find the experience you're looking for. Monday, catch your weekly news broadcast with the Reef Reporters. Then on Wednesday, get several hours worth of cannabis public education. We get things started with Cannabis and Coffee with Tamarijuana. Then tune in and catch Pottawa with Russell Barth, who calls himself the world's angriest pothead. Finish up your evening with the award-winning Pace Radio Show with Al Graham and joint host Kim Cooper and Alicia Yashishin. No week would be complete without tuning into Friday night's program, the 420 Radio Show, featuring Al Rapp and the 420 Radio crew, Mary Jane Baker and Marcel Gignac. Cannabis is a lifestyle, and you can catch all your cannabis lifestyle information right here at lifestyleradio.net or at our sister site, 420radio.ca.
Hey, this is Cheech.
And this is Chong.
And you're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
What is it?
Lifestyle Radio. Say it one more time.
420 Radio?
Ooh.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Say the ganja. Whoa, oh. Just pass me the papers and I'll see you later. Whoa, oh. Cause I like them nice and tight. I don't like them light and loose. I like when the time is right. Right for me and you. When I'm all alone with Mary, I'm done with feeling blue. I could never be without her. She's my love is true. Inside I'm boiling, my heart is racing, my eyes are bloody, my arms are shaky, my legs are lazy, my stomach's hungry, my clothes are stinky, my mouth is pasty, my voice is raspy, but it won't stop me from going where you can't even catch me. Cause I'm way too high for y'all to understand me. No guarantees when I'm smoking trees. Just come along with me, sing this song with me in harmony if you feel the need. But I think it's on a twist up. I think it's on a twist up the ganja. I think it's on a twist up. I think it's on a twist up the ganja.
So we were talking a little bit about all kinds of things. We've been actually discussing legislation and the book, magazine and all kinds of things. But, over the last, 10 years, we've both been fairly busy with, helping with lobbying and trying to get things to change. And, speaking, like I said, with our MLAs and stuff. And you joined the NDP party, and I'm the liberal in the crowd. So, and we lobbied hard with the liberals. I know, like I said, now there's some of the things that we push down them that I'd like to cut my tongue out for even saying. But, overall, we were talking about the fact that there are, constitutional challenges that are probably going to come up along the way. But, like I said, I guess there's two elements to this. We've been told that the licensed producers are asking for 8 to 12 weeks after royal assent to have the legislation passed. That's never been done before. Usually after royal assent, the legislation is passed that day. So what's your thoughts on, because they can't produce, what do you think is going to happen in those, 8 to 10 weeks in between royal assent? Any thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh. It's going to be a nightmare, that's for sure. I'm sure there's some way that someone could even challenge that. I know that we have some sort of right to have our cannabis, and I don't know. Someone's going to come forward and someone's going to challenge that. The government's not going to get, I guess not the government, the LPs are not going to get what they think they're going to get. They were promised something when the Conservatives were in power, and it's not going their way now. And it's unfortunate, but it's going to be somewhere in the middle. That's definitely what I've been thinking from the beginning. It's not going to quite go the way all the crafters wanted, but certainly not going to go the way the LPs said it was going to go. Somewhere in the middle, both are going to kind of coexist, and it will end up being okay in the end. It's just we have to go through this struggle phase. Like at one point, I realized alcohol is not the same as cannabis, but there was a stage where it was being brought back into society where it's no longer illegal to have it, but they had to regulate it in some way or form. At least the government felt they had to. And, after it was all said and done, eventually we ended up with craft beer and craft wines and craft alcohol, as well as having, government-run places where you could purchase it. It's time got a little bit of both. And at some point,
and it's only been
a little bit of both.
It's only been recently that you can actually buy, we have Fisher Peak Brewery here in town, right? And before you could purchase a little bit from them. Now they're in the liquor stores per se. So they've come a long ways with craft. It took 80 years. Though, let's be honest, it took 80 years to bring crafting out of liquor. We're with marijuana, cannabis, we're already there. They're rolling out the legislation to allow crafting immediately along with, which I'm quite happy about, and a little shocked that it's not taking them longer. But I know yesterday I heard some murmurings that the marketing departments at the licensed production sites were going, because they can't brand. They can't have they can have one logo on it, and the rest of it's got to be like, the packaging has got to be like non-conforming, like all the same. You can't have any fancy color, no logos, no branding, no nothing. So all these marketing departments at all these licensed production sites are going, great, now what do we do? And, I can, and as well as even the mom and pop dispensaries too, and the bakeries that are, kind of running in the gray right now. If they want to get into the market, they're going to have to conform with the packaging regulations. There'll be no, cartoon characters or fancy writing or anything on anything. So that's going to affect even the microprocessing, even the ones that are doing extracts and stuff. They won't be able to brand. Their brands are all gone, right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that put lots of time and effort into their branding, look at Tweed with all their, fancy branding and stuff. What's Snoop Dogg going to do now that his name and his face can't be on his product? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
But
It'll be
I was
interesting.
certainly upset. But I mean, at one point, and I realized tobacco is not something that does any good for society, but I mean, they were able to brand and have their image everywhere. And at one point they were, sponsoring events and you name it. And at one point the government said, you can't do that anymore. And, eventually they came to some, I don't know, somehow they've been able to survive without having branding or advertisement. So
right.
It's shameful because pot is not like a cigarette. It's not like drinking alcohol. It's something that, is fairly harmless when using it. So it's really shameful that it's being treated like everything else. But, I mean, what we're really expect, nothing else is really colorful and, beautiful and branded and out in the public's view. I mean, you go to buy a pack of cigarettes and it's behind a black curtain normally.
Yeah, it is now for sure. I mean, there was a time when you had the Marlboro Man on his horse, right? Now you don't have the Marlboro Man on his horse anymore either. So things do change, but let's face it, though, cannabis is more a healing, not a cancerous stick,
exactly. That's why it's shameful.
Yeah, totally. Okay, hon. Well, we're going to wrap the day up, and thank you again for being on my show at such short notice, and I appreciate it so much. Shout out to you for Mum Cup. Anybody you want to give a shout out to for any help along the way, or your magazine, or?
Oh, there's so many people I guess I could shout out to. I should probably shout out to my husband, Andrew, for always making sure that I get these things done. Standing by me through these incredibly insane court cases. It's been very challenging. Yeah. Everything else has just kind of been fun and healing, and been great to be part of that adventure along the way. Thanks for having me on your show, Tamara. I apologize that I'm only one tea into waking up, but I'm really thankful that you brought me on your show, and it was fun. And it's
always fun to have you on.
I'd like to be on again.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thanks again for coming on. And like I said, with short notice, we had a little bit of a glitch, but everything worked out well. And again, thank you to 12 High Chicks Magazine, Mum, Maritimers United for Medical Marijuana, the Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partner Society, and the Haley Rose Foundation. Again, thanks to my producer, Al Rapp, who puts up with me and all my guests and my stuff. And and again, we'll talk to you next week, Wednesday, 9:30. And today we'll have Pottawa on, as well as the Pace Radio show later in the day. So keep listening to Lifestyle Radio. You have a good day, everyone.
So what are you doing? Nothing.
Okay, go drink your tea and I'll talk.
Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.